Okay, folks, well, welcome to our discussion today. Today we're going to talk about the age of imperialism. Okay, so what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to transform you all and take you back to the 1800s, right, 1900s, and I'm going to have you all go into separate different groups, right? So in this table we have Belgium in the Congo, right? Now, for those who are part of this group is George and Sandra, or George Sandra, Moreno Fernandez. Jonathan, if you're going to come over here, can you come over here? All right, and also Sam Cooper. Cooper, you can also come over. You join this group, right? And we have, and also Stacy. Stacy, you can join this group. All right. Okay, and for this group, right, you're going to be in India, right? You're going to be in India. So for those of you in India, it's going to be Christopher Vale. You're right here. All right, we have Jocelyn. Jocelyn, can you go here? I can see her. This is going to be the whole. This is all of India, right? And specifically, you're going to be the British in India, right? The British in India, right? So we also have Jocelyn Nubia, right? And carrying the wind, Carrie, right? And we have Jesselyn Fan. Can you please go here in India, right? And Jamila, right? Jamila. All right, you guys good. All right, so we're going to pair up. All right, we're going to pair up for this activity, so just know that later on we will be pairing up. Okay, here, over here, this is China, right? So for those of you in China, it's Melanie, all right, Melanie. All right, and we also have Laisha. Laisha, hi, Laisha. All right, Randy, Contreras. All right, and we have also Monique, all right, Dean, and Yandel. All right, so, okay, we're set up into different. Okay, so, and so you are sitting here. I'm saying, okay. There we go. Okay, so for this activity, I need some helpers, please. Just gonna pass these out over here. I'm gonna pass these out as well. Right. Oh, there we go. Pass those out. Just give me one second. All right, so these are gonna be some surveys we're gonna use in a minute, okay? Thank you. All right, if you have some extras. Okay, we're gonna use this in 1 minute. Okay? All right, so transforming you, right? We're gonna think about this time period, right? So we're covering the Industrial Revolution. Right now, the Industrial Revolution goes hand in hand with a period in history known as the Age of Imperialism. Now, the Age of Imperialism is a period of time where Europe expanded its nation-state borders, right? And we went into all these different places all around the world, right? European, right? And before we get into this, because it can be a little touchy, right? We're gonna, well, first we're gonna look at this map, right? So let's take a look at this map, right? It changes every few seconds, right? Very easy. Right, so if you want to take a look at this map really quick and try to identify what you actually see, like what you actually see. What do y'all see, folks? Let's go to Belgium.
As the countries expand, they kind of like define their borders, like visit each other. I guess it could be like war or conflict, but
okay, we see that they're expanding. Could be war and conflict, right? Good. Good. What about you? What is different? Yeah.
There's more.
What?
There's more colors, which I guess represent different kinds of regions there are.
Excellent, right? So we see that there's different colors representing different nations that might have expanded their borders. Anyone else? Any other questions?
I'm trying to see what happens over the years.
All right. So what happens over the years, right? We're covering a period of history, right? A period of history. Come on over here. What do y'all think?
It gets more colorful until about the early 1900s, but then after that, it starts getting less colorful.
Right, so we're seeing these changes in color, meaning expanding, or maybe there's going to be a regression, right, of these borders, right? We're seeing these huge changes, right? And this is these are kind of statistical information. But what we're going to find out today is the story behind statistics. I mean, we're going to find out what these changes in colors, what these changes in maybe could be conflict, right? Could be these expansions, right? What this actually means, right? So once again, we're going to find the story behind the statistic. right? So in order to talk about this stuff, because if we talk about conflict, right? Is conflict always a good thing, or can it be a little touchy? Right. So in order to really talk about some things, I want to start us off with a poem. Right. So this is Native American History Month, right, and also Indigenous Peoples Month. Now, this being so, I'm gonna start you off with a Mayan poem. Right? So this Mayan poem, I would like us to say together, right? And as we say it together, I really want us to think about what this age of imperialism means. Right? It was a lot of let's say contentious times, right? So if we say this together, I think it's going to be a positive way to kind of start off our discussion about this, right? So if we can just repeat after me, right? So you are my other me. If I do harm to you, I do harm to myself. If I love and respect you, I love and respect myself. All right, this is called En Lakesh. It's a Mayan greeting. Right? So if anyone wants to know a little bit of Mayan language, there you go. All right, so we also have this bird here. This is called the Sankofa bird. Right? Has anyone ever heard of this bird? So this is a really cool bird, right? This is a metaphor, right? It's an analogy of the way that we can maybe look at history, right? So it's a bird that flies forward, but its head is turned back, and it's picking up an egg or something from its past to bring towards the future. So you can kind of think that history is done in the same way, right? We're flying forward, right? But we're also taking these gems from the past, bringing them to the present, so that we can understand them better, or we can use them as resources, right? There's that saying, history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes, right? So this being said, it's very important to make sure that we look at history in that context, right? So what I want you to start off with is this survey. All right, so if you have this survey, you should have it at your desk, right? And what this survey does is going to kind of help us think about different scenarios in which imperialism, right, when a nation state moves outside of its borders, and when it might be justified. Right? So what we're going to do is we're going to go down to just looking at this, the first line where it says scenario. It says justified, sometimes justified, and never justified, and rationale. Right? So I can have somebody help me reading the first rationale. Right? Volunteer. Can anybody read the first one?
National security. The colonized island country has deep water ports for refueling the mother country's navy and merchant marine. It also has an airfield.
Right, so meaning in this scenario, is imperialism, or is a nation state moving from one area and expanding its borders, is that justified? Would you say it is? Sometimes, never, right? And we're going to leave a little space for rationale. You have time for me to fill that out. Right, so if you want to just check off what you believe. Right? Any questions? Any questions? Any clarification? Randy, you got it, Randy? Or you know? Okay, can someone help me with the second the second question? Scenario? Volunteer. That's it.
National economy is innovation. The colonized country has much need for it.
Right, so if they have a resource that you need, right? Then you need that for your nation state, for your country. Is it justified? Sometimes justified, or never justified to go over it? Okay, and what about can someone help me with the third scenario?
Well, the colonized country is 400 population. That means roads, schools, and hospitals.
Okay. So once again, is that justified? Sometimes justified, or never justified? Right? Places do need schools, they need roads, right? So is this justified? Everyone good? Good thumbs up? Yeah. Maybe good? All right. Okay, number four. Number four. Can somebody help with reading number four? Volunteer. On Winnie.
Establishing religious freedom, the colonized country is ruled by a brutal theocracy. Christians, Muslims, Hindus, and Jews are denied freedom of worship upon pain of death.
Alright. Right, so once again, is it justified? Sometimes justified, or never justified. I mean, if there's a group that is ruled by a theocracy, right? Everyone know what theocracy is? It's when it's ruled by a religious leader. Right? Someone who rules that area based off of their religion, right? Uses religious beliefs to control a country. Thank you for okay, and last but not least, okay, we have number five. Number five, volunteer. Can somebody help me reading this last scenario?
Establishing political freedom. The colonized country is run by a tyrant who denies free elections and imprisons all critics.
All right, so once again, go back here. Right? Is it justified? Sometimes justified, never justified. Right? So if there's an area that has a tyrannical leader, right, and we are bringing freedom, right, in some way, is this a justified practice? Okay, now to really think about this, all right, so what if you're done with your questionnaire, right, we're gonna go back to the rationale, right, in a few minutes, right. So if you want, you can say the rationale, right, for a few minutes. Now, what we're gonna do is now look at a few things. We're gonna look at a political cartoon, and then we're also gonna look at a pretty famous quote. Right now, starting off, let's look at this political cartoon. Right? Okay, so let's think about what are some of the objects in this political cartoon. Can you all see this? Can you all see this? Right? So what do you all see? What do you all see here? Right? This is a very famous primary source, meaning that this is from the time period of the pyramid. Right? So let's take a look at this. Right? And as a group, feel free to discuss for a minute. Right? Feel free to discuss for a minute, right, on what you actually see here. Right? So take a minute to discuss it with each other. Right? What do you see? Right? And we're going to talk about these few questions here. What list the objects or people? Right? Which are the objects symbols? Meaning, what do they symbolize? Right? And how do these objects interact? Right? What do these symbols mean together? Right? So let's talk about this with each other. Have a few minutes. Feel free to talk. Right? So a few minutes to talk with each other. Right? And think about what do you visualize? What do you actually see? What do the objects symbolize? Right? And think how these symbols interact. Right? How these symbols interact.
What do you all see?
Yeah, like going to war to expand their civilization.
Okay, right. Let me see that.
Read the quote underneath the paper, right?
This is Harvard. I know we only had more than one barbarian. Okay, so what about you? So, so you guys see it? Can you guys see it? It's kind of hard to see. You guys move up. It might be easier to see it. So see the other side. The other side has a flag too, and that flag says barbarous or barbarian. And this flag over here, what does this flag say? Okay, right. So, okay, so what do you think? What are some of the objects in this thing?
We're going to war.
We're going to war, right? It was battle. Battle with okay, and there. What makes you think that?
Yeah, guns. Yeah. And they're like on opposite sides.
Okay, they're on opposing sides, right? And what about who has guns and who doesn't have guns?
Civilization, barbarian.
Okay, right, and think about how they interact. Okay, folks. So let's get back to your okay. So what do y'all think? Okay, so what are some of these? What are some of the objects? Right? Once again, this question. What are some of the objects in this image? What do y'all think?
We have the woman in white wearing the white flag who's also white.
Right, the one in the white wearing waving a white flag who is also would be European, right? Of European descent, right? So being of European descent means that she has fairer skin, right? That's part of the adaptation of our genetics, right? And okay, so we have this person. She's waving the flag. What does she symbolize? What is she a symbol of?
We talked about it. We said she's probably like Western civilization because they're like waving this flag and they're like taking over all the barbarians.
Right, she's there. She's waving the flag, and they're taking over the barbarians. Right now, who are the barbarians in this image? Who are the barbarians? Is it this group? Or is it this group?
That one.
Okay, and how do you know that they're barbarians?
One side is wielding like primitive weapons, while the other side is wielding guns.
Okay, primitive weapons versus guns, right? Technology, right? Technology, right? Anyone else? Anyone else? Right, what else do y'all see?
Their flag.
Their flag, it says barbar, right? Or barbarians, right? It's kind of cut off here, right? And anything else? You guys see anything else?
They're stepping on like I guess the barbarian body and sort of walking over it.
Right, so the civilization are walking over, right, the barbarian's body, right? They're making and if you read this title, right, so let's take a look at this title, right? This title is very, very interesting. And it's kind of hard to see. It's pretty zoom in. Okay, so let's identify the caption. All right, so what's the caption? Can somebody please help me with reading the caption, please? Volunteer, volunteer. Melanie, can you read it? Cairo? Right. So from the Cape to Cairo, right? Tough the process because the road of progress must be cut. What does that mean? Let's identify the adjectives. What are the adjectives? So what is like the cost of war, right? What are the nouns? What are the nouns?
The process.
The process, right? The process is a noun, right? Saying that this action, right, is costly. This noun, this action of civilization is costly, right? And from the Cape to Cairo, we're talking about from the Cape Horn, right, the Cape of Africa, right, to Cairo, which is all the way north of Africa, right? Now the road of progress must be cut. What does that mean?
I don't mind if you're reading into it, right? But does it mean like cut like lane out of like forests or something like that? Like it goes like those like forests and they're cutting through it.
Maybe made in a rainforest, maybe cutting through indigenous land, right?
Like the pieces of earth cut kind of implies that it's going to be violent in some way. Like they can't just kind of, like it's not going to be a peaceful kind of reformation that they're going for. It's more like more like cleaning the edge, I guess.
Right. So it's not going to be. It's going to mean that something is cut off, right? So yeah, that's a good connection. Good connection. Right now, okay. Now we're going to take a quick look at this quote, right? This quote is from a very famous colonist named Cecil Rhodes, right? He founded a country called Rhodesia, right, for a long time. Now, can somebody help? Can I get a reader? Can somebody help me with this? I got it. Okay. Can you read this quote here? Yes.
I contend that we are the finest race in the world, and that the more of the world we inhabit, the better it is for humanity. Just fancy those parts that are presently inhabited by the most visible specimen of human beings, what in cooperation with favor, but under Anglo-Saxon influence.
Okay.
Then the extra country added to our millions of years.
All right. Now, what does this quote mean? How would you summarize this quote? What do you mean? Right. Once again, it's I contend that we are the finest race in the world, and that the more of the world we inhabit, the better it